Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar, Designing with YBC, Enhancing Environments with the Timber Bridge. We are so excited that you guys are all here today. And before we get started with the presentation, I would love to tell you a little bit about the Zoom features that we'll have throughout the webinar. So if you want to keep an eye out for the chat throughout the presentation, you can see links to projects on our website and helpful articles. Also, there will be a poll question. It's going to launch here in a few seconds, so make sure that you get the chance to put in your answer for the poll. And then if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can go ahead and put those in the Q&A and we'll address them at the end. If any of you are not familiar with who we are a timber bridge company. We are design, build, and we create pedestrian and vehicular bridges. We've been in business for over 38 years and we've created thousands of creative crossing solutions. And I am so excited because today we have Rachel Marshall. She is a registered architect, has a master's in landscape architecture, and she has been with YBC for about 10 years now. So you guys are in for a real treat. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Seattle. Pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. Thank you for spending some time with us today. I am very excited to talk with you because we're talking design, and that's kind of my jam if you didn't get that from the credentials. Seattle noted a few of my fun facts, but I'd like to go ahead and expand on them just a little bit to give you a better idea of who I am. I've been honored to be in this creative industry for the last 18 years. I've worked on form-based code development. I've sat down with top retailers to spice up their bricks and mortar appeal. I've even strategized with curbside service design opportunities before the pandemic. I know that that's shocking. I've specialized in master planning for both communities and town centers. Most recently, I actually was able to partner on Latitudes, or otherwise known as Margaritaville, which was backed by Jimmy Buffett. There's now 3 locations. I happen to work on the prototype over there in Daytona. Each project that I get to collaborate on broadens my passion for our field. As designers, we're able to impact, engage, and set the stage for memories in the making. And that feels a little like living a fairy tale to me. So I want to start with backgrounds, right? I want to have my thing actually follow my click. Our experience and history are what makes us who we are, right? And that's not different for a business. So at YBC, our credibility is ingrained in the evolution of our company. We've gotten to enjoy collaborations with innovative design professionals such as yourselves every day. We love seeing how you're shaping environments and discussing how we can help. Now, we didn't get here overnight. We've spent 38 years establishing, expanding, and evolving our craft. So establishing. Back in 1985, we were founded by James York as Pelican Marine. We built decks across Tampa Bay and developed 2 core values that we still live by today. The first was a vision for excellence, setting superior standards, partnership loyalties, and a hunger for collaborative ventures. The second was to be a leader in the industry for expertly crafted timber bridges. We truly established ourselves as the highly sought after timber bridge builder in the industry, and especially in the golf course development world. Now, to meet the expectations of a rapidly intensifying market in the early 2000s, we expanded our reach and headquartered ourselves in Tampa. We saturated both the national and international market with thousands of high quality timber bridges. We have over 7,000 bridges in the ground, and we are officially, in this first decade of the millennium, the go-to timber bridge builder. Now we're evolving. In the past 12 years, we've been focused on refining our reputation for product excellence. In this decade alone, we have introduced 3 cutting-edge focuses for our bridges, including DeSato Design, York Bridge Services, and the York Timber Protective Systems. The DeSato Design approach is defined as a from-scratch mentality. It's special to YBC, and we just want you to think from zero. And that is the core of our pursuit of excellence. We set the bar high for 2 things: timber bridges and earning the respect of professionals like yourselves. So let's get into that. Let's talk about working with design professionals, because that's why you guys are all here. We had a poll up a second ago, and you guys generously provided me your responses. I really appreciate that. So the poll question was, what are the top incentives that would influence you to include a timber bridge in your work? Now, coming in first place is a tie for budget and aesthetics. That is not a surprise to me, because so often people do come to us, one, to sometimes save money. In other cases, they really just want a beautiful bridge. And you know what? Concrete or steel just might not give that to them. Coming in second after that tie is visitor experience. We love giving visitors experiences. We want to make them feel and remember our designs. So we focus on this at YBC. We focus on our legacy bridges, and we're happy to help you create that visitor experience. And then everything else kind of shakes out with the reduced environmental impacts and the customization potential, the sustainability goals, placemaking opportunities. All of those I think are just happy benefits of continuing to go with timber. So thank you guys so much for giving us that input. It really helps us in our future whenever we start talking to clients, to ask the right questions and to gear some of our product to what you guys' goals are. So I really, really appreciate your input there. So your process as a whole is dynamic, and we've streamlined our services to complement our partnerships with you. So our goal is to seamlessly integrate our team into any project at any stage. This, as you see in front of you, is the general design process, starting with the assessing client needs, budget, and then building to permitting and beyond. Our bridge consultants, design team, and our construction experts are able to consult on your project directly. We are here to give you our 38 years of proven experience. And then bridges, they do seem fairly rare in the large world of design, but amazing enough, they are quite common. We do have a 38-year business on it, right? So let's talk about collaboration through this consultation. All right, so in our pre-design consultation, we like to provide you with ballparks or orders of magnitudes to help you get an idea of cost whenever you're establishing those project goals and determining your project elements, right? Or your program elements, I should say. Then you're going to move to schematic design phase. Now, we can offer you general scope and budget refinements here because we know that you're never going to start with a fully defined idea or scope. And so that's going to come with the design process. And we're here to help you evolve that throughout your project. In design development, we can further define a scope and get closer to a hard budget. That's important for your client. As you move into detailing a plan and construction documentation, we're typically contracted at this point. We want you to let our standards help you to detail, or I probably should say, avoid detailing the bridge. Our design build approach is geared to let us take that load on for you. There's no need for you to waste time and energy with it. Our dedicated design team will answer questions from the jurisdiction. They will respond to comments from the permitting department. They will send in information for RFIs. And in addition, they're going to consult with an expert bridge engineering firm that we have partnered with for 25 years. So there's a whole lot of wealth in collaborating with us at this stage. The last stop on this consultation train is pre-construction. Here we discuss things like access, build equipment, and craftsmanship because they are the cornerstones to a successful project. Our construction experts coordinate with your contractors and on-site team to create a smooth transition from paper to site mobilization. When we build, our team showing up to your project is there to build the best bridge that they can. And I can assure you that is the best bridge in the industry. You've all heard the term special teams in football, right? Well, we've maximized this strategy in our field crews. They are dedicated to maintaining the smallest footprint on site that they can. They build out systematically and efficiently. In short, our crews have astonished our clients, and the clients have said that it's like watching poetry in motion, seeing them in action. Now, I know that sounds a little bit corny and whatnot, but that is actually an exact quote from one of our clients. So it's not some marketing scheme. So overall, we have tons of consultations, but you might be asking yourself, what is the optimum time to bring YBC into some of your standard project delivery scenarios? So we're going to outline 3 of them and kind of give you that optimum time. The first being the integrated project delivery or fast track project. We know that most projects in today's construction industry are fast tracked at some point because time is money and we want to get projects done as quickly as possible. So if you want to bring us in on an IPD project, we suggest bringing us in right there within the project goals and programming phase. If you are doing a traditional design bid build, we would recommend that you include us in the budgeting phase. This helps make appropriate assertions regarding cost allowances or order of magnitudes or refinements to the scope so that these details will land in your bid package for an accurate bid. So if they don't end up in the bid package, there is a good chance that we actually will not participate in bidding. And finally, the design build approach. Now, obviously, as a design build company, we are very comfortable in this zone. So this is where the concept of the crossings have been identified or established. And it's best to really get us in there before construction documents if you can. So that way we can ensure that the bridges are detailed for maximum efficiency. So we're relying on those shop drawings rather than an interpretation of drawings. And then we can do this efficiency for not only design, but design engineering, construction, and longevity. It's way more than shop drawings to us. So in short, we always recommend talking to us the minute a bridge or significant culvert is a possibility. Show us a plan, even if it's just your client's survey or early site analysis. That way we can let our expertise really shine. No matter when we are brought in, we are committed to providing the utmost due diligence and attention to detail to provide you the right bridge on time and on budget. So I've killed you enough with this graph here. Let's move on to the fun stuff. And let's make sure that you know why this approach is worth your while. So first and foremost, we collaborate with our clients. And a few benefits of collaborating with York Bridge is that you're going to get customized character that Timber Bridge offers because it's versatile and innovative. And it can be molded to fit your vision with stunning aesthetics because our Desero design team will always start with the context that you've developed so that the end result not only fits, but it's just right. We also like to encourage kinetics. Our designs focus on multimodal accessibility from handrails to guide rails to transitions to rolling paths. We work with AASHTO LRFD and ADA standards every day. Let us help you there. With the aim to give you a bridge, or give the bridge users, I should say, a smooth journey that engages them and their environment, promoting a unique experience. See that one thing that was ranking kind of high there. Ultimately, the involvement of our character, aesthetics, and kinetics as precursors, an experience is going to be inevitable. However, experiencing a York Bridge is not only notable, it is memorable. There is something very special about timber. You can see it, you can hear it, and you can feel it. And finally, it is going to boost the narrative of your design. So our bridges have been used to continue the conversation throughout a site plan by enhancing branding, encouraging continuity, and to be more than just a bridge. The common thread here in terms of designing sites with YBC is that each of these benefits is integral to typical placemaking strategies, right? Design strategies. So specifically, those revolving around nodes and landmarks, paths, vistas, or view sheds. This is great news for timber bridges because no matter the strategy, there is a bridge for that. And so let's go ahead and shift the focus. Let's explore these strategies in action with some actual projects. I'm going to start with Summit Bechdel Reserve. We collaborated with the landscape architect in a design build capacity on this park and recreation project. They had a strong plan and a vision for a massive site to host the annual Boy Scouts of America Jamboree. Paths, nodes, and vistas made up miles of experiences. Our bridges connected people, vehicles, and ATVs to various nodes of outdoor activities. Each bridge required a very complex design and engineering process, as well as a significant demand for the knowledge of specialized timber construction in order to complete this build very quickly. Because we were actually on a tight deadline to get these in the ground because they had their first Jamboree event quickly approaching, where these were going to be as soon as we finished building. And I think as we were driving off of the site, the hordes of people were coming onto the site to enjoy an entire weekend of outdoor activities. And actually, to this day, we still go up to West Virginia and put in more bridges for more opportunities for the park. So we also have projects like Heritage Shores. Heritage Shores, we collaborated with the developer in an integrated project delivery capacity. It's a golf course community master plan project. And the DeSero design team focused on paths and vistas surrounding 2 nodes of activity, including a landmark market and the clubhouse with a waterfront promenade, my apologies, integrated retaining wall, vehicular bridge, and golf course bridges. All of these had an exclusive color palette that reflected the context, as well as architectural details to complement those strong stylings and character of the site. Another fantastic project is River Lights. We collaborated with the developer in another integrated project delivery capacity on this master planned community project that focuses on destination-based amenities that embrace the community's location on the Cape Fear riverfront. All of the placemaking strategies are at play in this expanding master plan, and each of our bridges play their part. So far, we've installed a meandering boardwalk along the waterfront, connecting nodes of activities like the restaurant and passive gathering spaces, and onto the pier and the crab dock. We've also put in a pedestrian bridge on one of the multi-use trails over a channel. And as the community grows, so do the York amenities. We will continue to put new builds onto this property as the community grows. So speaking of multi-phase projects, we worked at Ringling College for Art and Design, and we collaborated with both the landscape architect and the general contractor in kind of a hybrid design build IPD capacity in a phased campus project mainly focused on path and node. So boardwalks curve through the campus landscape, connecting residence halls with smooth, well-lit open walking paths and seating areas. And then there's 2 dynamic multi-use benches that you can see pictured there on the bottom right. That required every ounce of collaboration of the design team, as well as our YBC carpenters be engaged, because we wanted to execute the landscape architect's conceptual vision flawlessly. And that was a task, and we were actually able to meet it with those two experts working together and create these beautiful benches for the students. And now that the students are back in session, I hope that we get to go out there and get some pictures of them using it. So how did we get to those great builds, you might ask? And in order to answer that, I'm going to review a couple of our most recent builds: the Edison Chastain Vehicular Bridge in Georgia and Memorial Park's pedestrian bridges and amenities in Texas. I'll also summarize a few resources that we have that may not have been necessary for those projects, but could be relevant to your next project, because we want to look forward. So as you can see at the bottom, I brought back that little chart. We're going to use this familiar design process diagram at the bottom to kind of highlight where we are in the project timeline as we move through them. So the Edison Chastain project started as a simple meeting between our esteemed bridge consultant, Titus Edwards, and a GC, and he was there to introduce YBC. We were asked to ballpark an alternative to a potential concrete bridge for a new office building. The use was to serve as a connection between the parking lot and main entry for vehicular and pedestrian access over a protected waterway that was dividing the site. So our pre-design consultation revealed a number of things. It revealed that we were looking at a double lane vehicular bridge, an HS20 capacity, which means a truck, tractor, trailer could cross this bridge, and an attached pedestrian section. And this bridge was either going to be free span or multiple span, because we're trying to go over this protected waterway. So we utilize the multiple span approach, which is what you can see illustrated here on the right. And it's a generic profile. It's not the actual crossing, but we actually have these generic items and that we can provide in the pre-design phase so that you can get assisted in illustrating a bridge approach to a client or to your team early on. In this particular case, we and the contractor liked the idea of constructability as well as feasibility of using that multiple span design instead of a free span crossing. So once we presented this, everyone, including the architect, liked the ballpark. So budget was answered and the product. They liked the aesthetic. So they said, okay, can you help us pitch the concept to the necessary entities so that we can move into this next phase? We, of course, wanted to help. So we provided multiple materials like our portfolio, a custom company profile, and some specific project references via our web galleries. Now, the portfolio and gallery are fairly self-explanatory, but what is a company profile? So this is a package that allows us to introduce ourselves without being in the room. And it's a great package for committees or boards as a takeaway. For this project, we customized the package to provide information on the specific design, the construction, and engineering concepts that we would be utilizing to provide a 75-year design life bridge. And this meets the industry standards set forth by AASHTO for bridges. Now, the company profile was enhanced with some schematic design work per our review of the site-specific information. We analyzed the crossing to determine the breakdown of a spanning configuration for the multiple span. So what does that mean exactly? Well, here is the center line illustrated on the screen, that orange line there. And here is the buffer zone. So in this particular case, it was deemed acceptable that we could put piling in that buffer zone. And that was good news for a multiple span approach. So let me switch this over to a profile view that might be a little bit more appropriate. So our layout looked something like this. And just to give you point of reference, here's the center line and here's the buffer zone. You can see that our span is centered on the waterway with piling still inside the buffer, but we proposed a desirable 40-foot center free span with approaches. So this gets us clear, it gets us to an economical length. Now we can free span up to 100 feet, but we want to think of budget. just like you guys want to think of budget. And in this particular case, we didn't have to go the full distance. We could stick with just this center portion. So we were asked to provide a vision of what this bridge might look like. Enter the vision board on your right. So featuring our exclusive protective systems, all of this was actually incorporated into that custom company profile and was successfully passed by the different team members. And ultimately, it went from a pre-designed consultation to a cost submittal. So we wanted to give them a cost. Now, our cost submittals are detailed with information about all of the systems and services provided within our product, as well as the specific details of the scope and what is needed to perform the work. The architectural team was so inspired to provide a new, beautiful rendering for the project, now featuring the York Bridge as a celebrated entry. And they just did a fantastic job. That's one of the best renderings we've ever seen come through. So we moved on to design development. We refine items in design development like the color palette, as well as, things like producing a detailed set of shop drawings that are used for the final engineering of the bridge and for the on-site construction. Our guys will be looking at this whenever our teams are on your site to build the project. So in seeing this process in detail, I have another question for you, and my teammate just put the poll up. What resources are most helpful to you in your design phases? Is it pictures, generic profiles, generic sections, detailed scope and cost submittals, or previous project cut sheets? So while you're answering that, I want to draw your attention to, let's see here. Hopefully that's running there. Okay. Draw your attention to this great time lapse of the construction of Edison. Now, it will go on for a little bit here, but ultimately, can you believe that this is a 3-man team working and they built that bridge in under 3 minutes? Probably not. You probably aren't going to believe that at all. But they did build it in under 3 months. So as you can see, there's a lot of heavy lifting that goes into building a bridge. But this is a 3-man team keeping a very small footprint and building efficiently and systematically to complete this bridge. And we did it in under 3 months. So I am going to leave that poll a little bit longer and circle back to it. And we'll address that shortly. But I'm going to move on to the next thing here. And that is after construction. So traditionally with a York bridge, you're actually going to get the York timber protective systems while we are on site finishing construction. In this particular case, we actually performed them in a return visit. And return visits, just mean that we get to pay that much more attention to the bridge. We do provide York Bridge services on every single one of our bridges, and that is a return visit just to make sure that the bridge is performing according to spec. If there's anything that we want you to maybe pay special attention to, or if we just need to do some touch-ups or some tightening, we want to make sure that your bridge is still operating the way it was whenever we left it. So we usually do that whenever we're in the area, at least a year or so after construction, but that's a complimentary return, and that is our York Bridge services. Now, our York timber protective systems that you can see on that video, those are the wow factor. And in this particular case, it was acrylic and some composite components that are used. And these help to make a seamless integration into the environment, the site plan, and the vision. So for now, we'll look at some poll results here. So the poll results show that what's most helpful. So pictures, everybody loves some pictures, and coming in above that is detailed scope and cost submittal. So good news, guys. As long as you reach out to us, We are happy to look at scopes with you and provide you a cost submittal as soon as you need it. Our website is loaded with some pictures. And then we also have a Desero Design Center, and that will provide you both generic sections and profiles of our bridges, as well as previous cut sheets. So I do want to encourage you to visit our website and give us calls whenever you are ready for that detailed scope and cost submittal. All right. So now we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk a little bit about Memorial Park, a wonderful design that we were asked to price for the selected general contractor. We were familiar with the landscape architect's work as we've partnered with them on previous projects like the Boy Scouts Summit Bechdel Reserve that we mentioned before. Now, they again provided a world-class design, complete with some very challenging amenity boardwalks and spaces. So our pre-design consultation actually kind of fell after their design phase. And in this project, we were acting as a design builder, but we still needed to assess things that made up their scope via a basic markup, which you can kind of see on the right. And I'm going to zoom in here for a second. There we go. So you can see what we do is we assess the drawings as they are. We try to get the length, width, and height. It's very, very important that we get the height of for establishing our scope. We also look at the design intent that you can kind of see there on the right-hand side of the architect so that we can do our best to mimic it while utilizing our standards. Here's another zoom in of a more complex boardwalk that was going in that you'll see a little bit later. So after we did this assessment, we went ahead and we did provide them some examples of our work to illustrate that we can work with complex turning, because that was obviously a very big element in their design. And we utilized past projects like the Summit Bechdel Reserve and a project in Tennessee called One City that have beautiful flowing curves. And we're known for being able to do curvy work, if you will. So then they decided, oh, we need to get you to look at some more scope. So we received from them some integrated benches, and then also what we nicknamed in-house matchstick boardwalks that were in the dense native uplands of the park, to which we refined, again, our cost and our scope. And always a guarantee, and too much of you guys' pleasure, I think is a good word. We can guarantee that we will give you a cost submittal, and it details our price and process. And we try to get this to you sooner rather than later so that we can illustrate everything that goes into our work. So for complex projects such as this and large projects, the design development is extensive, and we are detailing everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything, down to the ripper patterns and screw layouts, actually. So our bridges are in the best hands of our expert craftsmen, but our designers do everything that they can to ensure to think of everything, every little detail, so that whenever that field crew is out there and they're building that bridge, they do not need to improvise. There should be details for everything. And they can actually, the field crew can actually stay focused on remaining on task and on schedule. I mean, building these bridges is an art form. As you can see in the sequence of construction stages, the boardwalks evolve from paper into a series of piling, deck boards laid out in an organized manner that looks a little bit chaotic to the average Joe. And then the edges are carefully cut to smooth curves and later are dressed with protective systems. In this case, it was a translucent oil-based series of coatings. And everything is meticulously thought out to provide the utmost quality that is going to result in this beautiful environment. We love that our bridges offer an experience on this site, and it has swift infinity style edges, comfortable gathering spaces, and even some more rustic woodsy exploration zones. We actually are venturing back out to this park later this year to put in some more bridges and continue that narrative, much like we've done with past projects. So let's go ahead and get into a recap here. In the pre-design phase, We have a generic company profile that in some cases can be customized as relevant to the project demands. We can review drawings, aerials, or site plans and mark them up with scopes that are best suited for your site. As you can see in this example, the client actually started with a rectangular bridge that required a very awkward curve. This is in the center drawing there. That was a driveway. And we were actually able to refine the location and layout. And in the end, we recommended shortening the bridge with some minor shifts to the grading. And the civil engineer was able to sign off on these shifts of grading. And so we shortened the bridge and they have a much more flowing driveway at this point. Occasionally, we have the ability to provide vision boards or color palettes to help sell the idea of timber to city councils or HOAs or similar. More commonly, you'll find that we develop profiles capturing conceptual layouts for approval. So on the left, you've got the concept, and on the right, you have the finished project. This is for the client that we did River Lights for. This is another project in Texas by Newland Communities, and it is called Ellison. And this is one of the most finely crafted timber bridges that we have put out in the last decade. It is absolutely spot on and gorgeous. And it looks almost identical to that profile we gave much earlier in the process. Expect a wonderful and thorough set of shop drawings for approval before they're engineered. Our engineering consultation and remote permitting assistance are included in our design process. It is not a separate act. And then finally, after installation, here are some great before and after shots of other projects. And you'll note that they're in the hearts of residential, recreational, commercial, and even downtown urban environments. You can find some of YBC's greatest legacy bridges. I'm going to let this one play out just a little bit longer and you'll see where we end. You're familiar with this project. That was the Edison project. And we're actually going to end viewing the New York skyline. This is us in Hoboken, New Jersey. So there is a bridge in overlooking New York. We can build anywhere. Now, before I move on from the before and after, I have to show you this latest project we've completed. It's hot off the presses. Our team is actually still on site building more bridges, winding through this campus. This is a 3-lane vehicular bridge on the Centene campus in Charlotte, North Carolina. There are so many cool things about this bridge, but I have to limit it for this webinar. So first and foremost, this bridge is dressed in a custom hardwood deck surface designed to endure the heavy daily traffic that's going to be entering the parking garage and exiting the parking garage at every single day. So they're going to go 3 lanes in and then 3 lanes out for the beginning and ends of the day. And then secondly, that curve. I mean, our curve is actually even cooler than the rendering itself, right? So achieving the curve of this road required expert planning and framing because below that deck, what you can't see are a bunch of site limitations, from the retaining walls to the waterway to utilities. I mean, you name it, there's complexity in spades underneath of that bridge. So let's kind of look at it in profile view for a second. This is actually a complex curve, meaning it has not only that horizontal curve that you guys saw on the deck, but it's also vertically curving, meaning it has a camber or a roll. And we had to achieve that without using equal radial segments. Now, I know that's a whole lot of complexity, and I'm not about to explain it into extreme detail because you guys don't have enough time for that. But there is literally no easy way to express the level of difficulty that was accomplished in the design build of this bridge. It is impossible to describe this in a simplistic manner. So I encourage you, please stay tuned for project updates on this on our website, because whenever we unveil this project, it is going to be a sight. So I know that we looked at the poll results before, and I mentioned our CAD Design Center. So I encourage you to find some of those resources, to go to our website, visit our design center. You will be able to download generic drawings. You will be able to download CAD resources. You can also find loading diagrams, which are hard to find. Section views, project cut sheets, and all of our galleries do have images in which you can download as well. So I want to thank you guys, and I hope that these illustrations have given you an idea of how we can be involved with your process and what resources we can provide. So thank you guys so much for enjoying this with me, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar. We do have additional resources available if you're interested in learning more about this topic. And if you have any specific questions that you don't want to ask here, you're welcome to email me and I will pass along your information to the right person. Also, if you would like a certificate of completion, you can request that from me via email as well. And now let's take a look at some of the questions. So let's see, we have a couple of anonymous questions here. Rachel, the first one is wanting to get a little bit more information about lifespan and maintenance of the deck.
All right. So we do design our bridges to, if they are designed with all of our recommendations, the vehicular bridge is designed to a 75-year design life. Now, the decking surface, not the structural deck, the decking surface that you see, that secondary layer, is a wear surface. So it might not be 75 years before you have to replace it. However, we anticipate that those surfaces can last from 10 years to 25 years with proper maintenance. And, we're constantly revisiting our bridges to continue our research of that. And ultimately, that wearing surface is there so that you protect everything else about the bridge, right? So if you are able to replace that over time or maintain that over time, other aspects of the bridge will not be affected. So hopefully that answers it a little bit. And we probably also have a forthcoming presentation that might address that a little bit further.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you, Rachel. We do have a presentation later this year that goes a little bit into more maintenance. So you can, if you go to our webinar page on our website, you can check that out for sure. And then the next question is wanting to know the construction advantage of timber over concrete.
So I might not be the best person to answer this question, but I'm going to take a stab at it because I might as well, right? And in my personal opinion, the benefit of building with timber over concrete is that the build and the construction is segmental, right? And once it's in, it's in. You don't have to wait for curing. You don't have to wait for the right time to pour. You are ultimately getting a progressive build from day one of construction, and it's able to be used the minute we walk off site. And so I personally think that construction wise, that is an advantage. You're not waiting for things to set up. You're not having to extend your timelines for cure periods and so on and so forth. We're utilizing structural aspects, and each component that we put into our bridge is structural.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And yes, that is another question that will also be addressed in future webinars. We have one specifically on timber bridge construction and materials, so definitely check that one out. So it looks like we've got our last two questions here. So if you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them in now. But one of them is wanting to know the specific kinds of wood that we use and where they are sourced from.
Certainly, certainly. So we will have another presentation on this. I really encourage you to attend that so that it can get more specific, but I will try to be very quick in my response here. I would say 80% of the time that we're building, we are utilizing southern yellow pine. pressure treated southern yellow pine, the best of the best that we can get of that product, the best pressure treatments, the best densities. So we utilize that on majority of our bridges. Now, if we are west of Texas, we will sometimes utilize Douglas fir. We do utilize a source primarily out of Houston, Texas for our wood. And the hardwoods are sourced locally that we use. And one of the hardwoods that we have been using more recently has been Jatoba, as it's more readily available than something like Ipe.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And yes, again, that's another question that will be addressed later on this year in our construction webinar. Next question is wanting to get a couple of examples of the techniques we use for overwater construction, top down or otherwise, driven piles versus helical piers, or just in general wanting to know about construction through wetlands or other sensitive areas.
All right, I see that. So I would highly recommend that you visit our website and take a look at one of our top-down build construction time-lapse videos, because that really is going to illustrate the best way for a top-down build. But just to give you some examples or some more specifics here. So whenever we build a bridge, whenever I was talking about that concrete, the comparisons to concrete, every section is independent, right? Structurally independent. And then we put them together over time so that we can get to the other side, right? So ultimately, whenever we're building top down, this structure, one, is going to be able to support the weight of our equipment. And two, we can then use the bridge that we're providing you to move ourselves across the water, across wetlands, so on and so forth. So we actually don't need to put anything on the ground. We don't need to put equipment down on the ground if we are not allowed to. We can actually stay in the path of our bridge. The most that would happen is that maybe you have some foot traffic down below if they need to be. In terms of driven piles versus helical piers, so we utilize driven timber piling. We do not do helical piers. And we utilize a hammer installation method as our standard. And we do have things within our contract in case the geotech conditions are, unforeseen, and we need to switch to maybe say drilling or something like that. We go ahead and work that in as an as needed basis. And so that way our clients are only paying for our work and materials exerted and nothing more, nothing less. So we try to keep our costs controlled and provide standard driven piling at standard depths for the capacities that we're building for.
Great. Thank you so much, Rachel. And it looks like this is our last question. So if you guys have any more, definitely put them in the Q&A now. But this person is wanting to get an explanation on how an asphalt deck with a timber structure works as it relates to our services.
So we do not provide asphalt decking. If you see asphalt decking on a timber bridge, it was likely not done by us. It probably was subbed out. Now, some of our bridges do have an epoxy aggregate deck surface. We have actually phased that out because we've determined that clients are more preferable to utilizing a wood deck, which is why we've actually switched to the grooved hardwood deck that you guys saw on that last project, the Centene project. It is a little bit more aesthetically synonymous with their views, and we believe that it will be more maintained, like the maintenance of it will be easier for clients.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Well, we'll give it a few more seconds to see if we have any more questions. But if not, thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us.
I see today. A couple in the chat. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, you already approached that.
That's all right. That's all right. So yeah, I think that looks like that's all for today, but thank you guys for joining us. And if you have any questions that you think of later, feel free to email me, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your attendance.